With our nation, families, children, and churches failing and hurting in so many ways, could there be a solution in the Bible we've been overlooking for ages? Something that could stop the suicides and double or triple a person's capability, confidence, and productivity in life as well. For years, Brother Winston Menzies has been applying his revelation from the Bible never heard of today. A new concept of character building as a commander in the Army, president of a real estate company, a building company, and pastor. It is a new concept of character building that is easy and enjoyable that produces phenomenal results. Amazingly, the success of this system is even guaranteed in the Bible. Now here's Brother Winston to share with you the power of character building.
Good morning. Thanks for stopping by, friends, for another powerful meeting on the power of character building. It is so powerful. You know, as parents and as pastors, we should be ever alert to ways for equipping and empowering our children and our followers. And there's no greater way than, of course, to lead them to the saving knowledge of the Lord Jesus Christ. But there's still another way to put some powerful tools in their toolbox to be successful off the map and to thrive in all of their relationships at home, at work, and at church. If you have never heard of my testimony, you know what? I had a hard time even getting into college. If they had an award for the least likely to succeed in my high school class, I would probably have gotten it, hands down. Bad grades, getting kicked out of school, gave no indication and no promise for anything but trouble, a no talent guy. And so when I couldn't get into college, the college I wanted to go to, I saw my desire and my whole life plan just demolished. And so I did get accepted at a smaller college in Texas called Tarleton State, joined the Corps in their drill team, got caught up with myself one day as I was walking along and was arrested by the truth. I saw myself fast sinking in the sea of life. What do I do? Well, I decided to study character. I don't even know why, but the effects were both immediate and phenomenal. And I never told anybody about all the success that I had for 50 years. Not because I wasn't ashamed of it, but I was trying to decrease. I don't want to go around boasting. And I tell anybody about my mistakes and my mess-ups, but not my successes. Besides, the successes were so phenomenal, just mentioning them would sound like boasting. And when God called me to share these traits in this book that he had me write called the Character Trait Journal, I was told by those that I trust that I had to share my testimony about the power of these traits in my own life. Truth is, I still didn't like doing that because, we overcome. The only reason I do it is because we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So it's so you'll know that the Lord will do the same or more for you just by studying these traits than he did for me. It's incredible. One person I had dealt with in the ministry for probably 40 years that had their own publication, was a publisher of it, said the results, when she read about it, was the results were unnatural. Unnatural blessings and supernatural accomplishments. I can't even believe it myself. So if you want your children and your followers to double or triple their confidence, competence, and their lifetime accomplishments, get a copy of this book and get started having a time of your life with your family and your friends and your church. Studying and practicing these traits is easy, enjoyable, and exciting for everyone who's ever done it. Even the Bible says it'll cause you to never stumble, never cease to bear fruit, never cease to be productive. It'll cause you to make your calling and election sure, and you'll have a grand welcome into heaven. 2 Peter 1:5 and following. Well, I need all 5 of those, and I'm sure everyone you does too. It also says in verse 2 that it'll cause grace and peace to be multiplied to you. Nowhere else in the Bible does it say there's some one thing you can do to cause grace and peace to be multiplied. Now, how bad do we need that? We can't do anything good in life without grace from God. So when I got saved and started seeking the Lord, I decided to do everything that God had for me to succeed as a Christian. and I have no regrets for seeking him with all of my heart, all of my soul, all of my might. He gave me the grace to seek him, and I'm glad I did. So I'm so excited to be here and share these powerful character traits with you this morning. We all certainly want our people to have every advantage as they go through life. Now, the character trait for this week is being of an agreeable nature. You know, it's true, we all have to share this planet with others. Some folk are a blessing to be around, and some can be pretty difficult to deal with. I'm sure you've noticed. It's also true that some people we meet in life even seem to be mad at the world and all its occupants. Sorry to say, they don't like anything or anybody very much. Regardless, many of them, however, we must work with and get along with in our daily lives. To do this effectively, we must always realize that it's our own attitude that is the only thing that will help overcome and succeed in these difficult relationships. Our attitude, positive attitudes, can overcome their bad attitude. We certainly don't have to cave to the things that are illegal, immoral, or unscriptural, but we should always approach people with a positive attitude of being agreeable in nature. Now, another problem is that some people have an uncanny ability to put the wrong construction on everything. They doubt everybody's motives, are unhappy with where they are in the world, and think everybody's against them. Some can even make the word caustic a thing of beauty. To them, happiness in life is quibbling, quarreling, criticizing, and cajoling. I think these fractious people really don't like themselves, and that's a part of the reason they're so argumentative. They already know that after talking with them for a minute or two, you will know that you won't like them because they don't even like themselves. So what's the use? So they just rail on. Well, these people we all have been warned about, who are walking about the earth with the proverbial chip on their shoulder. Just being around them is like lying down on a pile of thorns, thistles, prickly pears, and poison ivy. I don't care if you can take a running jump at a thorn tree and climb it backwards and never get stuck. That was until you meet one of these people. You're going to get stuck just being in the vicinity. They're like a time bomb about to explode, and it will explode sooner or later. Being around disagreeable people requires keeping your distance and treading softly, as if you were walking on eggshells. They must have forgotten that it'll probably be the same people that they painfully perturbed today that they will meet and need the cooperation of tomorrow, the next day, or down the road for the rest of their lives. If you've never had to work with this kind of a person, you found that their starting point is in just about the discussion is being against everything. Any discussion, they're against most everything. Nothing suits them, nor do they like new ideas unless, of course, they are their own. Why not rather work on being agreeable in nature? Start by looking for the good points in another person's suggestions. Try to find common ground and work from that platform to resolve any differences. Always try to meet new initiatives with a positive point of view, always believing that you can overcome them if they're negative. Agreement is truly the place of power in life. Matthew 18:19 says that if any two agree as touching anything, our Father in heaven will do it for us. How powerful is that? And then again in Psalm 133, 1 through 3, it says, "Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It's like the precious oil upon the beard of Aaron running down the edge of his garment. It's like the dew of Hermon descending upon the mountains of Zion. From there the Lord has commanded the blessing, life forevermore. For there the Lord has commanded, nowhere else, only in the point of agreement has God commanded the blessing." I want to be there. How about you? I want to be under the spout where the glory comes out, and that's definitely it. Truly working at being open, easily approachable, and helpful to others is what makes friendships work, groups function, and life a blessing. Excuse me. One day, you'll be glad you did. Now remember, all relationships begin with a first meeting. and no one gets a second chance at making a good first impression. So start out in a friendly way. Remember the admonition, a man who has friends must himself be friendly. Proverbs 18:24. Making it our practice to smile when we meet people is also a good habit to start. If we look like we've been sucking on persimmons all of our lives, no one's going to want to be around us. How powerful is a smile? Just a smile can bring happiness to anybody, even those who don't happen to like you. It is the universal code language for saying, I like you. I like myself, my job, where we are geographically, and life itself. In addition, a smile says, I expect a positive outcome to this meeting, the situation we find ourselves in, and our relationship. It also helps being predisposed to making lifelong friendships with everyone that we meet. Having this goal means that we will always be ready to make investments in the lives of others in many ways, including being respectful, adding value to their lives, and being patient with them. When meeting people, we need to realize that both of us are human beings with similar needs and aspirations occupying the same planet, so finding something to agree about shouldn't be all that difficult. We should always be looking for common ground with other people. It should also be standard procedure before entering into a difficult meeting or confrontation to humbly ask God for wisdom. It amazes me at my time in the Lord, which has been a good while, that God has answered every time I've asked Him for wisdom, and I ask regularly. He's a good God. In summary, we need to do our best to keep a mindset of being flexible, negotiable, and agreeable, not demanding that everything be done exactly our way. Certainly, we should be willing to yield on the small details. Life is rarely perfect, and neither are people, including us. So, I need to try to find something we genuinely like about the other person or group as well as something we can agree on. If you can compliment them on something and do it sincerely, this is always a great way to start out. I believe a good goal is to endeavor to be like King David, the shepherd of sheep who became Israel's greatest warrior, governor, and king, a man who had a heart after God. And when King Saul was looking for a musician to pull him out of depression, one of his servants who had met David said this about him to the king. I've seen a son of Jesse, the Bethlehemite, a skillful musician, a mighty valiant man, a man of war, prudent in matters, agreeable in nature, and of a good presence. And behold, the Lord is with him. 1 Samuel 16:18. Well, being agreeable in nature happens to also be the exact reason that General Marshall in the Second World War chose Eisenhower to be the supreme Allied commander in Europe. He really needed somebody that could get along with the commanders of all the other Allied nations' forces, and like Montgomery in England, who had a reputation for being stubborn. Now here was little Eisenhower. He was the chief of staff over in the Philippines under General MacArthur. But he had a reputation for getting along with people and being agreeable in nature. Now, the character trait of this week is just that, being agreeable in nature. We need to ask the Lord to make this a part of our character. You know, we can all improve by acquiring positive character traits that will bless our entire life as well as our performance for Him as well. Ever wonder what makes a general in the Army? In a word, character. Character is the arbiter. All officers can be counted on to do a fair job most of the time, but a general is expected to do an excellent job all the time, and guess what? He does. They say if scientists could take all the minerals and compounds out of our bodies and sell them on the open market, with no deduction for the cost of extraction, we would each be worth about $2.75. Realizing also that each of us is just a sack of protoplasm that is about 75% water and the rest made totally of dirt, we should hope to be the sum total of our character. What is the content of your character? We all have room for improvement and should be trying to improve daily. Well, Here's what it means to have the character trait of being agreeable in nature. It's always starting out in a friendly way, being open as if you might have missed something, not being a know-it-all. Be respectful of everyone, as well as being predisposed not to let another's rudeness or sharp words cause us to react negatively. Realizing some people are truly a test, and we're all going to meet some of them in life. Excuse me. It's being intent upon agreeing with our adversary quickly, if at all possible. Even if you don't agree with their overall position, look for at least one or two good points. Gladly tell them you agree with those points in their argument. It shows sincerity on your part. Admitting it quickly when you find that you were wrong is a wise thing to do. Not arguing about the unimportant, trivial points of life, we should pick our battles. And also never interfere with another person's way of being happy, as long as it doesn't concern the work at hand. If they like hot sauce on their ice cream, let them have it. Don't get in the way of that. Looking for something to compliment the other person about and doing it sincerely is very important. Everybody does something well and can do something better than we can. And we should consider everybody that we meet better than ourselves. Everyone has a gift and a talent from God, and they need to be respected for it. Who can say their gift is more important in the grand scheme of things than those that others have? Letting people know that you're always open to debate a subject calmly and respectfully, but refuse to argue, is an important statement to make. Showing respect for the other person's right to have a point of view, even if you don't agree with it, is important. Realizing everyone in America has the right to believe anything they want, even if it's wrong. And the First Amendment great that we have in America, no other nation has it. Letting the other person do most of the talking is also important. Trying our best to see things from the other person's point of view, realizing that God uses conflict to bring people together. Then trying to put ourselves in the other person's shoes in our own mind, even if it's just for a few minutes, is always a good idea. Then always asking God, as I said, humbly for wisdom before even entering into a difficult confrontation. Removing the harsh words and antagonistic attitudes that may exist in our own personality is also very important. I believe that's why He's given us wives to be our heavenly sandpaper. Life is really short, and we want all those that we are around in our ministry, in our home, in our church, to have every advantage. They need every advantage as they go through life, and character is the most important thing to have. And we know that there's a lot of children that fall away from the Lord. John Ankerberg did a study here a few years ago and found that 78% of the children born in Christian homes in America will lose their faith by the time they graduate from either high school or college. How terrible is that? Now, it's not because the churches aren't doing the right things. They're doing the right things. They're doing all the teaching of the principles and doctrines of the Bible about Noah, Daniel, and Job and the coming of Christ and salvation. But there's something missing. You see, we have a time today that we live in that's more difficult than any time we've ever known of. It's the progress of the iniquity. The mystery of iniquity in the world is growing and growing. There's more temptations out there for our young people than there ever were when I was growing up. Even through elementary, high school, and college, I never even knew anybody that did dope. We thought doing dope was dumb. You're a dope if you do drugs. And couldn't even be mentioned among an officer in the military. But here we are. How can we help those that are young people coming up today? Well, God put something in all of us to want to be better and do better. And that is what we have with character traits. Each one of them takes a negative trait that we were born with, and we were all born the same way. We came in the world flawed vessels. We were born in sin, shaped in iniquity, have sin in our members, and our mind is so messed up that we think it's leading us to something good and we're going directly to death. So these character traits will take a bad trait that you were born with and change it out for a positive trait that will pay them dividends and fruits for every day for the rest of their life. Anytime a trial or temptation comes up in any area, if you've studied these traits for 21 days and made a habit of it, which is easy to do, only takes about 2 minutes a day to just go over the character points of the definition section of a trait, then anytime that temptation or trial pops up, that proper attitude will just jump right up there and give you the overcoming attitude to solve the situation. And you see, when children and young people learn these traits, they'll never quit. You'd never quit something that brings you success everywhere you go and whatever you do. And it'll keep you in with the Lord as well. It's all in one package. These traits are God's traits. They come from God's heart. I've never met anybody even that's invented a character trait. It comes from the heart, as I said, of God. And it comes with wisdom, with power, and great favor. So these children are going to stay with God, and they're going to stay with these character traits, and they will never stop. A child, when they're born, first thing they do is they learn to crawl. But after they learn to crawl, I see them in our church crawling upstairs like lightning. But then they learn to walk and use their feet. They'll never crawl again if they can help it. And then time goes on, they learn to ride a bike. They're not going to walk if they got a bike handy. And when they learn to ride a bike, that's great until they get the keys to the car. When they get the keys to the car, that bike goes in the garage and it never comes out. So you see, we progress in life. And when we learn to use a certain trait, just take, for example, being considerate. Most kids don't even know what that's about, actually. And they don't know how powerful it is and how important it is. Well, I believe that 90% of the people that go to prison wouldn't go there if they were considerate. And I believe that most of the marriages that fail wouldn't fail if they were being considerate. I believe most people that lose their job and get fired wouldn't get fired if they were just considerate. I believe that most people that have a hard time making friends have that problem because they're not considerate of other people around them and respectful. That's part of being considerate. So these traits are something they can put in their pocket, put in their toolbox, carry with them everywhere they go, and they will be an incredible success anytime they get a job. Just think about it. Would you like to have somebody working for you if you're the supervisor at Burger King that had a master's degree and a doctorate degree that knew everything better than you did and had a hard time getting along with anybody? Or have just one person that maybe didn't even have a high school education, but they had great character, great attitudes. They could get along with anybody, and they were highly motivated and excited about the work. They had the character trait not only of being considerate, but also being loyal to the company, be loyal to the leader. I don't believe in blowing smoke or sucking up to anybody. Let your character speak for itself. Let your results and let your work speak for itself. It will be astonishing. Wherever you go, doesn't matter. You know, the Lord's had me in all kinds of different disciplines in life. I've been in the military. Guess what? Character works like crazy in the military. It's wonderful. Then I've been in the real estate business. It works tremendous. I've been in the building business. Every time I left a field, I had to leave the success of it, the security of it, to go to a new field that God was moving me toward. In the ministry, church building, and prison ministry, so forth. It works everywhere just as well. It works in every home. It works in every church. And see, when everybody in the church starts practicing these character traits, the attitude of everyone improves and everybody works better together and works more in unity, where God can command, as he said, the blessing. It is through unity that God would command the blessing. I want to be on the receiving end of that. How about you? And I want as many people under the sound of my voice to receive that blessing as well. To learn how important it is to get along, to be in agreement, to be one with others. Add your agreement to them. Add your agreement to your church, to your workplace. You know, I've always, in every church I've been in, I've always prayed that I could be a cinder block in the foundation. I just want to be there to hold the whole thing up and be in agreement with the pastor and the elders and add my agreement in any way I can to support the work of the church. I don't need to be the front door. I don't want to be out front and seen. I just want to be a support, a rock solid support everywhere I go and whatever I do. It's great to walk in love and life in all humility. And see, every character trait is from the heart of God, which its foundation and generation is from the point of humility. You know, God says he loved the world so much, Jesus loved us so much that he stepped down from his throne of glory in heaven, came to the earth and endured the cross, an ignominious cross, the most cruel death in all the world. And he did it knowingly to bless us, to be able to save our soul, to pay the fair price for the sin in the world. And he did it because he loves us so much. But see, he loved the world, and he loved it so much that he humbled himself to be obedient, as I said, to that cross and come to earth for our benefit. You see, humility is the essence of love. If you took a cauldron, a big vessel, and you fill it full of love, and you put some heat under it and began to boil it, all the other parts would just effervesce off, and the bottom of it, you'd find, would be humility. Humility is the essence of love. We can't love anybody else until we first, of course, love ourselves, but consider them important enough to invest in them and to see about how we can help them and do things for them in life and share with them whatever we can to help them and their family and their church to be a success. It's the only way to live. It's the most exciting way to live is to walk in God's divine wisdom, which is his character. So I want to thank you for stopping by today, and I hope that this has been some small help to help your life be a great success. Amen.
Thanks for watching The Power of Character Building. And remember, character makes a winner. Friends, we are totally supported by our partners and so appreciate your help. You can donate with the credit card at creativeministries.us or pick up a book at winstonmenzies.com. Thanks for your support, and may God bless you 100-fold. Together we can change the world by changing a person's character one heart at a time.